The next topic we're going to talk about is deer crossing safety tips, how to avoid accidents and save lives. So this will be priceless tips for new drivers by a well-traveled Pennsylvanian who absolutely loves driving in snow and other challenging driving conditions. And so we all know that an accident can cost you your life, and this is why it is very important to know the following tips for responding to a deer that jumps in front of the car on the roadway. So, according to Geico and the Insurance Information Institute, 1.6 million deer impact collisions occur each year, resulting in over 200 fatalities, tens of thousands of injuries, and over 3.6 billion in vehicle damage. So your life can definitely depend on whether you're doing the best actions within these emergency situations. And so let's take the best actions and minimize impacts to injury or death of yourself and others. And as long as you're driving, the statistics on whether or not you'll be in a collision at some point is very high. So it's best to definitely learn all these different tips early on in life versus later. And so when you're driving in Northeast United States, north of Georgia and east of the Mississippi, there's definitely a high likelihood that you will see a deer along the roadway throughout your driving career. On an annual basis, if you're definitely just driving in general or even paying a slightest amount of attention. And so deer are definitely common in California and other states as well, but I definitely see more of them in the Northeast USA. So I definitely see more deer in Pennsylvania, New York, North Carolina, Tennessee, as well as nearby states statistically versus Washington, Oregon, California, and Florida, all of which I've driven extensively. And so for prevention, we'll definitely discuss some great tips to prevent accidents with regards to deer. Definitely be sure to wear your seatbelt, drive with your windows down and with louder music. This one I just kind of have like a scientific theory around that, most animals can kind of sense you coming or hear you coming, and if you're louder versus quiet with your windows up, it will probably make a difference. So in the animal kingdom, oftentimes bears, snakes, and other animals will avoid you if they see or know you coming. And so definitely give them the opportunity to hear and see you coming by, for instance, having your windows slightly down with louder music on, or there are actually deer hood whistles that you can actually add to your vehicle. You can also turn on hazard lights and beep to inform the deer and other cars that you are near. And you can also be aware of deer signs and other safety signs as you're driving. You can flicker your lights on and off to inform deer and other cars that there are deer or even police cars. Sometimes we flicker our lights for that as well to indicate police cars are nearby as well. So you can drive using the Waze app. I actually really love the Waze app because it basically not only gives you like information when there is a um, hazard along the roadway, but it also provides you the best route, um, and also in the best, most enjoyable, entertaining voices. And so the hazards can definitely be priceless. For instance, in December, I had a car accident where a tractor trailer tried to throw me off a bridge. It actually was pretty much of a miracle, but the good thing about this accident was reflecting back, the Waze app actually gave me an indicator that there was the hazard ahead. And if my mind in that moment worked a little bit quicker, I probably would have had the ability to prevent that accident. But as with most situations, I was following someone, they were in a rush, and so I was following a little bit too fast of a speed. And so lesson learned, when the Waze app tells you there's a hazard, definitely slow down and you know, drive carefully when there are hazards along the roadway. And the Waze app is great because it'll tell you when the hazards exist. So there are some really great ways to actually add on the Waze app indicators of animals or other roadway dangers. Just make sure that you're focusing on the road as you drive. using this app. I also like to drive in the middle lanes or as near the middle of the roadway. This is because you're actually further from the potential for deer if you're driving in the center lane or the lane furthest from the side of the road. So by distancing yourself from the side of the road, you give yourself a higher reaction time. And also water collects on the sides of the road, so you may also avoid slipping in snow or rain as well by driving in the centermost lanes or furthest from the outsides. You'll also definitely want to reduce your speed and be a little bit more cautious around sunrise and sunset, as well as at nighttime, because deer are out more in nighttime and it's also harder to see with this lighting of dusk and dawn, early sunset and sunrise. During sunrise and sunset, your eyes will actually take a little bit of time to adjust to their night vision, and so sunrise and sunset also has a more difficult ability to see, and for that reason as well, you'll want to definitely decrease your speed when you're driving, not just at night, but sunrise and sunset as well. Definitely, I enjoy following larger vehicles who drive well. So when I'm driving, and I drive a lot, and I often drive like across country, like from Washington all the way down to San Diego. I've literally driven that multiple times. I've driven Highway 5 from San Francisco to Los Angeles multiple times. I've driven San Diego to Northeast Pennsylvania several times. I've driven from Mississippi all the way to Pennsylvania multiple times. And all of these drives, I'm usually literally the only driver, so I make these drives alone most of the times. And it's usually like in between jobs when I'm traveling and relocating for my work. My work kind of makes me relocate a lot, so it's just, like I'm very well traveled with regards to my driving. I have experienced a lot of different states and their road signs and how the drivers drive, and you definitely have to adjust with their driving style within each state. And so, for instance, New York driving, I swear they all tailgate. Mississippi driving, they all drive at like 75 to 85 miles an hour, super fast because all the roads are super straight. And then, California driving, they're just really bad at like passing with pace. So you'll often see somebody in the fast lane going super slow, and it just really annoys me. In Pennsylvania, if you do that and you're driving in the fast lane going slow, you'll actually get pulled over by the police officer because the fast lane is for passing, so you could get pulled over for that. And then just in general, Washington and California, they have a lot of police around, so you're more apt to get pulled over, in my opinion. So I really enjoy driving, and I think I've driven a lot, and then oftentimes I drive pretty far distances by myself, even as a female. And so in general, when I'm driving these long distances, especially at night, I oftentimes will make sure to find drivers that drive in my similar style, someone that I really like their driving. And usually I'll try to follow a larger vehicle, believe it or not. I do know that some people like to be able to see ahead of them because, if you have like a tractor trailer, for instance, you can't see what's going on in front of that, and they feel less safe because of that. There's multiple things that you could do. You could do that method, or you could also do my night driving method, which is literally following tractor trailers. Because tractor trailers, they drive a lot, they're very experienced drivers, and they have higher level licenses. It's actually called like a Class C license, a commercial driving license. And because of this upper level experience driving, I oftentimes will follow them at night. And then also my other reason for following tractor trailers at night is because they are ginormous with very slow capacity to stop. So I know that they're not going to stop quicker than I, and if a deer jumps in front of them, it'll just plow through it. So I just feel safer knowing that if a deer comes into the roadway, the tractor trailer will pretty much protect me from that. If I'm following the tractor trailer, that deer would basically have to cross onto the roadway between the tractor trailer and myself in order for me to hit it. And I know that the tractor trailer will probably stop very slowly, so it's going to be very unlikely that I'll back end the tractor trailer. And I do like to follow at safe distances as well. So for me, when I'm night driving, especially around deer, I oftentimes like to drive behind a truck or SUV or tractor trailer that is driving at a good speed and reliably, has really good indicators of good driving. And then if the tractor trailer or the driver starts to drive poorly, then I will definitely pass them. If the tractor trailer begins to fall asleep, I will definitely not be staying near them. That's actually a completely, hazardous situation. So don't be around drivers that are falling asleep, and you can usually tell by them, swerving off to the side of the road a little bit. So definitely you can follow larger vehicles or strategically follow vehicles that allow you to be able to see ahead of you. Because the ability to see far ahead of you protects you. You can see further in the distance, and you're giving yourself more reaction time to stop. So for me, I like to follow vehicles that drive well, and then follow in a safe driving distance. And so I like, being a leader in life, but also a follower as well. And so as, someone who's driven over 20 hours straight on my own, I do think that these practices have done very well for me. And so when it comes to deer, you'll definitely want to be defensive in your driving, just like your everyday life. You want to drive defensively, as if everyone is a horrible driver, because most people aren't really good at driving, actually. With any long drive, I will always find a driver that is good at driving and just, mirror their speed and just use turn signals, cautious braking, and just overall reliable in the way that they drive, and I just replicate that and just follow them. And so I definitely find drivers who drive and think like me, and then I follow them on my route. When I'm following behind the larger vehicles, chances are any deer that will fall in front of them will not come between us, and instead in front of the larger vehicle that will be able to handle a collision easier than my vehicle, depending on what I'm driving. Um, and then you'll definitely want to make sure that you're following cars at a safe distance to allow yourself to be able to stop without back-ending anyone. Um, Larger vehicles that go into a collision with a deer will be able to handle the damages way better. And oftentimes the bigger vehicle will actually come to a stop a lot slower as well. Therefore, you'll have a little bit more time to come to a stop if you're following a larger vehicle. So when they move to the left quickly, I already know and trust their driving, so I'm a little bit more apt to respond safely and more effectively in these emergency situations as well. You're safer when you drive near safer vehicles, and when you surround yourself with better drivers who brake and respond in situations like you do, you're able to actually respond to those emergencies way more effectively. So for instance, if you're on the roadway and you know that the car in front of you is driving very well and driving in a similar way as what you like to drive, then you know that less unexpected things will occur. And my response in an emergency situation would just be way more effective because I will favor um, a, a better outcome knowing how the other drivers around me are driving versus if I'm in a situation and there's 5 cars around me, I'd have no idea any of them and how they drive, and then they can do any multiple of different actions, and then I have to respond accordingly, and try to implement the best action to have a safe outcome. The reality is, with all those different factors, you never know if you'll be making the right choice, the safest choice. So surrounding yourself with drivers that drive in a very expected way is actually way safer than driving around a bunch of people that you don't know and don't trust in their driving skills. So that's why everyone says drive defensively. You'll definitely want to be aware of the topography near the roadway. If there are forests along the road, then you'll definitely want to be more cautious of deer that may surprise you and come onto the roadway unexpectedly. And so if the adjacent roadway inclines upward, a deer can actually rapidly jump onto the roadway and reduce your reaction time. And so a incline going upward next to the roadway is actually a less safe situation. The deer can jump onto the road from above way quicker, and therefore you have less time to react, and it's a less safe situation. While instead, if the adjacent roadway descends downward, the deer would be climbing up a hill and would more slowly jump onto the roadway, and this would allow you for an increase in reaction time. So it's actually safer if the adjacent roadway goes downward. That means that the deer will be climbing up a hill, and for it to go onto the roadway, it would have to climb the hill and then go onto the roadway, which is just a slower process, giving you more time to respond. And then, if there are fences or obstacles or other structures, it may proffer protection against deer. But deer can exist in urban areas as well. I've seen a lot of deer go past these obstacles, and, regardless of being in a city, you can still come across like a deer coming onto the road. And you'll actually see them on the side of the road, oftentimes already hit, because, deer can occur in cities and then on the other side of obstacles. Yes, it'll be more likely that they're not there, but they can still be there, so you definitely want to be cautious regardless. Deer mating season is October to January, so they may be more common and mobile, moving around and jumping onto roadways more commonly during this time frame. So you'll definitely want to be more careful in the October to January winter seasons. If you see a deer on the side of the road, you should definitely reduce your speed and maintain your foot over the brake. Turn on your hazard lights, keep an eye out for other deer as they often travel in groups, and definitely be sure to beep or turn on or off your lights as needed. The lights can definitely blind the deer and cause them to stop in the middle of the roadway in shock in front of your car. And so you'll definitely want to potentially turn your lights off when you see the deer. And you can also shift toward the further away lane if that is possible. You can flicker your lights and inform oncoming traffic that there is a deer or a safety concern. And definitely have your passenger add that concern, like a deer or other hazard, into the Waze app, so then other drivers can be informed of this hazard as they are driving as well. Sudden stops and turns can definitely lead you to losing control of your vehicle. So definitely be proactive and take precautionary, proactive actions to move away from the dangers and slow to offer yourself more time to respond. Make gradual movements whenever possible. Definitely be sure to note that deer are very unpredictable. They're very fast and they're difficult to avoid. And quick actions that you may take to avoid the deer may cause you to lose control of your vehicle, so you'll definitely want to be very cautious and careful when you're responding to deer as well. Definitely avoid sudden turns because this can literally worsen the situation that, basically can cause you to lose control of your vehicle and be thrown off the roadway and into a tree, for example, or crossing into oncoming cars, or a worse situation than when you started. So you'll definitely want to, in response to seeing a deer, be careful on how you respond. Don't take too sudden of a reaction because you want to assess all of the situation in full and then make a careful reaction in response instead of like one that's completely avoid the deer but then cause yourself a worse situation altogether. So a deer that jumps in front of your car, you'll definitely want to be aware of your speed around deer, specifically during these certain times of days when deer are more common, or even in these states like the northeastern United States where deer are more common. Be aware of your speed, be aware of the vehicle size that you are driving and the different driving cars or vehicles around you. Be aware of your surroundings, your overall safety circumstances. Are you around a bunch of trees, or is there an entire grassland, and you can literally pull off to the side, Is there fog? What's your visibility? Can you see very far? Is it easy to see the deer, or is it more difficult to see the deer? All of these aspects go into the safety of the situation, and you'll definitely want to respond accordingly, like reduce your speed if you can't see very well. So when risks are higher, be aware of your speed. Be aware of the size of your vehicle, your capacity to stop, the quantity of other vehicles on the road, and the proximity of your car to other vehicles on the road. Be aware of the surrounding environment and the incline just adjacent to the roadway. Is the incline going up, down, or level? Are you in a forested area where a deer is more common and can come out and unexpectedly come onto the roadway? So we've all seen the movie Titanic, where they all are scientifically trying to assess whether it was way better to, hit the iceberg head on, or whether it was better to turn away and collide with it along the side of the vessel. And so the same thing goes with deer. You're literally going to have a split second to make a decision based on your circumstances and all of the information that you have. So you're just going to have to do your best and make the best decision you can based on your experience and your circumstances and what you know. So really, there are no rules. You'll definitely want to be informed and prevent prior to being in the situation, which is the purpose behind this video. Teach you or inform you or improve your understanding of statistics or research, or get insight from an experienced driver who drives in abnormal driving situations, as well as have driven a lot in more difficult driving situations. Like, I love driving in snow. But anyway, you'll definitely want to make the decision of hitting head on versus trying to avoid. And it's all going to be dependent on all the data and information of your circumstances. And you're just going to have to do your best to make the best decision in that moment. And nobody can make that decision but you. But anyway, you can avoid or you can hit the deer head on. The decision to avoid the deer versus hitting it straight on is definitely something that only you can decide based on your circumstances. This is this is a very important decision because making abrupt turns may cause you more harm or dangers versus just staying along the path that you're going. And so if you hit from the side, your vehicle may not be able to handle it as well versus head on, where your vehicle is actually built to take that damage head on. And it may be able to take the hit more effectively head on. That is what your bumper is for, so to protect you in head-on collisions. So definitely be sure to decide, is it better to maneuver and potentially lose control of your vehicle, or is it better to take, less severe adjustments to your direction and speed, or is it better to just continue in the forward path that you're going? Your car is built to protect you on a head-on collision, and the deer will naturally avoid you. But if you make a quick response, will the deer make a quick response and jump in the way anyway? So definitely be sure to, carefully assess your situation and make the best decision in the moments that you have. I truly believe that subconsciously you will definitely be collecting a lot of data throughout your drive, and you will be able to make the most effective decision when the time comes. And so your split second emergency decision will probably be the best that you can do. There's nothing better you can do than the best that you can. So, do your best and just, be informed prior to going into the drive. Prevent and reduce your speed, but in the moment of emergencies, you can only do your best. So definitely respond confidently, definitely reduce your speed, and give yourself more reaction time, push the brakes, slow down. If you're going to do a head-on collision, but you're going to push your brakes, so then the impact is lesser, there's actually a lot of things you have to think about as well. Sometimes there's no right answer to emergencies, and the decision making is complex, but you must definitely make the decision that you think is best based on all that you know. Reduce the risks, go confidently in the direction that you deem best. The worst thing you can do is not be or do strategic things, make it an informed decision, or simply the worst thing you can do is not be strategic, not be informed, not prevent safety issues, and just simply go with the flow. Your strategic action will most often be better than an uninformed lack of any decision at all. This decision can be to continue straight with no changes, it can be to slow down, or it can be to speed up in response to seeing a deer as well. There's actually a lot of options in response to having a deer jump in front of you. You may be forced to brake to an immediate stop to minimize the speed for the collision. You may be forced to increase your speed, knowing that you will never stop in time, in hopes that the deer gets tossed not into your window, which causes you and your passenger the most amount of harm, but instead, if you're increasing speed, the deer will collide with your vehicle and plop over the vehicle instead of landing in your window and causing you and the passenger the most harm. So there's actually, positives to increasing speed in a situation with a collision with a deer. Because if the deer and you collide and it ends up in your window, it may cause you more harm versus if you had a higher speed and the deer basically bounced off your window and went over the vehicle. It actually may lead to a better outcome. And that is a little bit based on physics instead of, proffering normal situations that you would expect. Now, again, I'm not telling you to speed up when you see a deer. I'm just saying these are your options. You can continue forward, you can stop, you can make a sudden movement, which I recommend you not doing, or you can make a careful adjustment to your speed or your direction. You can also speed up, you can slow down. There's so many things that you can do. It's really going to depend on your situation and your circumstances. You may be forced to maneuver to not hit the deer, but be sure to note that they may jump into your space regardless of your maneuvering. You can beep, flicker your lights, turn off your lights, all in effort to not blind the deer and allow the deer to move out of your way or notice you. When a collision has actually occurred, here are some things that you should do. You'll definitely want to call 911 emergency services and inform them of your location. For example, are you on the highway at mile marker X? I don't really understand why certain cities and areas around the United States don't have mile markers. In the Northeast United States, we have mile markers all the time. And so you can literally tell as you're driving along the highway, what mile marker location are you at, and you can also understand what cities you're nearby and what highway you're on, and then it provides the emergency services better ability to find you and respond and get to you and get you an ambulance if that's what you need. But then other states like on the West Coast or central USA, they don't have mile markers and I really don't understand it. Mile markers are the best ever. So inform the emergency services what city you're in, what your car looks like, where you are, what mile marker, any safety concerns or injuries. Inform them, are you okay, or, are you about to pass out? Like, is there a severe need for them to hurry up, or are you fine? Inform them of your emergency needs and any immediate dangers. Like, are you in the middle of a oncoming traffic, super fast cars everywhere? Is it dangerous for the emergency services to be very slow? If it is dangerous and your circumstances are severe, inform the emergency services of that. You'll definitely want to pull to the side of the road or to safety as much as possible. You'll want to turn on your hazard lights, get help, call your insurance to file a claim and maybe get an emergency tow sent out to your location. And you'll definitely not want to go near the deer. Wild animals can be dangerous and emergency services can relocate the deer to a safer place. but you should definitely avoid going near that deer. So here are some lessons learned. In emergencies and within important decisions, you'll definitely want to subconsciously take in a lot of information and data within each microsecond of time, and then just do your best within the moments that you have. The best thing you can do is be informed about all of this information and, understanding the situations behind, coming into contact with deer or in proximity to deer. Deer do respond a certain way, just like any other animal, and you can definitely prevent and avoid. And you can also understand that the risks are higher when you are in certain situations, or when, there's an incline adjacent to the roadway. And so the best thing you can do is be informed about these tips, but also take actions to confidently respond to the circumstances that you have. Everybody's situation is going to be different, and you can only do your best. There are many ways to respond, and there are also many actions that can be taken. In the end of the day, you must simply do your best and take decisive action based on all the data and information that you have leading up to the situation. When I drive, I often choose a bigger and safer vehicle like an SUV to drive because this decision can save your life. There's actually been like statistics that a normal vehicle on the roadway is 7 times more likely to cause a death versus an SUV. And this is because as cars get bigger, in this modern era, the smaller vehicle just is not able to protect you as much. All the other cars on the roadway are huge, and so when you collide with them, you just have higher risks. So my recommendation actually is to more preventatively drive a SUV, drive a larger vehicle because you will be safer and protected. Let's say if you, a normal car, collide with an SUV, the SUV, the SUV will definitely handle better in the collision. And so the best decision you can make with preventing deadly accidents or injuries is actually driving a safer vehicle or a larger vehicle that allows you to handle better in a collision against a deer or against another car. So the best thing that I could recommend in holistically for this video is actually don't purchase a car, purchase a SUV. They're just better in moments of collision, and they will protect you a little bit better. So strategically decide on what kind of car you want. This decision can literally save your life. I am always aware of who is behind me. That's another thing that I've learned, who is around you, who is behind you, who is in front of you. Strategically follow someone at a careful distance. Do not be a New Yorker and, tailgate, super close behind the cars in front of you. It's a bad idea. If they make a sudden change in speed or direction, you have less reaction time and ability to avoid a dangerous situation. You'll definitely want to be strategic on following smarter drivers and also be strategic on, who you're following. If someone is falling asleep or driving poorly, don't follow them. Get away from them. I definitely control my circumstances and foster safer situations throughout every one of my drives. And when you and other vehicles around you are, driving defensively and driving better, then your situation is safer for that as well. You must take into account where they are in association with your vehicle. Are they, speeding super fast? Take your speed and their speed into account within these emergency situations. You'll have to just control what you can control, and otherwise do your best. Be aware of your surroundings and the situations that you're in. Be aware of the vehicles around you. When there's less vehicles on the road, I oftentimes feel safer. The less things that can endanger you, the better. The best thing you can do in life is drive slower. and give yourself more time to respond and take actions within emergencies. Definitely be careful, drive safe, and enjoy driving because it is actually a very enjoyable thing to be able to drive and travel and explore. You'll just want to be a little bit safe about it.